Good evening, everyone. It's a little bit after 7 on a Wednesday evening, and that means it's time for Keto Confab. I'm your host, Elizabeth Hanson, along with my husband, Scott Hanson, and we're coming to you from snowy, cold North Dakota, and it's the first Keto Confab of the year. Woo, 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 woo. I think that, we're a group that likes to get together to support each other in our choice to live the keto lifestyle and to share experiences and maybe a new book we read that had some good information, or renew your reasons why you're doing keto and everything. And so welcome. And we do record these and put them on my YouTube channel, the Health and Life Center channel. So anyone that wants to can watch them at a later time. We've had some videos that have been viewed 90 times, which is just shocking to me because I don't advertise this except for on Dr. Boz's neurons. And so that's good. So here we are at the beginning of the year. And a lot of people like to get resolutions or start their diets or restart or recommit to their diets. And with the Dr. Boz teaching, one of the things she feels is very important is our why, as to why we are doing this lifestyle. And I'm going to turn off this light, see if that's better. And so I just want to, each of us, if we're able, to talk about our why we got into this, why we stick with it. And I'll start with it. If you're not comfortable sharing, that's fine. You don't have to. So my story is that 2 years ago, I weighed about 340 pounds. And I was pretty unhealthy. My liver enzymes were maxing out, and they told me I had a fatty liver, and my kidney values showed that I was in stage 2 kidney disease, and my blood sugars were creeping up there. I have a father who was a diabetic, and they were saying, it's only a matter of time before you become a diabetic. My A1C was at 6.2. My thyroid was malfunctioning to the max. It was at 9. It's supposed to be anywhere between 1 and 3-ish. And I was at 9. And so pretty much I was a wreck. And I happened to stumble across one of Dr. Boz's videos right after her mother passed away in October of 2020. And I listened to her and cried with her because I had lost my mother 2 years prior in the early part of November. So it had just been 2 years for me. And I just thought it was so sad, this woman who had such gains in her health to then be taken away 5 years later by COVID. And so I went to go buy the book, this book, Any Way You Can by Dr. Bosworth, on YouTube. Not on YouTube, on Amazon. And Amazon has this nice thing that if you bought the product before, it will tell you when you last bought that product. And it told me I had bought this book 4 years or 3 years earlier. And I'm like, really? Well, where is it? Because I need to read it. So I went to my office and I found it. And I also then got the Audible version of the book. And I literally devoured the book. And for me, what struck me so much was how this was an eating plan of just eating food. It wasn't so much of, you buy these pre-made, pre-measured meals, or you count points or anything. You just eat real food, and simple food, not crazy 50,000 ingredient food. And you get healthier. You can restore your liver and you can get rid of your diabetes or your pre-diabetes. You can reverse your kidney disease. You can reverse cancer. You can do all sorts of things. And I work in natural health care, but I had never heard of this diet other than, Hollywood keto, and I don't look at anything that comes out of Hollywood. And it just, the science of it, the metabolism information just made sense to me. The one chapter she has on fruit is evil, I did not want to read it because I had always been taught and told that fruit is the best thing you can do. If you can't eat anything else, eat fruit, And so that chapter kind of, I'm like, okay, lady, you're really going to have to bring the science or some sort of reasoning for me to buy this, to buy that fruit is evil. And by the end of the chapter, I understood what she meant by saying that. And the science of it, the common sense, the ease of it made a lot of sense to me. So in that November of 2020, I realized, yikes, I'm eating like 300 or 400 carbs a day. And so November and December, I started cleaning up my diet and just cutting out carbs, and slowly, not fast, because at that level of carb consumption, that would be bad. And then I started talking to my nieces and nephews who were all overweight, and I convinced 6 of them to come along with me on this keto journey. And I sent them all this book and told them to read it. And we started the first Sunday of 2021. And within the first 4 months, I think among the 7 of us, we had lost over 300 pounds together. And they were clearer in their studies because some of them were in college. Others were sleeping better. Others were not having as much constipation, and all sorts of benefits out of it, and me too. And then by my birthday, my 60th birthday in August, I had finally lost 100 pounds. And being down below 300 was great, but getting really close to 200 was even better. And I got down to 210, and then I got COVID. And that's where everything went cuckoo for a while. And then I got back on track, and then things went off and got back on track. But I'm a firm believer in keto. I'm a firm believer in keto for people who have illnesses or problems, because in the first 8 months of being keto with Dr. Boz's plan, I totally reversed my fatty liver. I'm now back to no stage of kidney disease. My kidneys are fine now. All of my liver enzymes normalized and came back into normal ranges. My thyroid is now functioning on its own without medication. And my A1C went from 6.2 to 4.7. And so that's pretty doggone good. And I need to stick with this. If I want to have a good life, a comfortable life, a healthy life, and not be on thousands of medications and everything, I need to stay keto, because when I don't stay keto, that's when I have more pain in my back or a higher blood pressure or something else. Now this last week, so my why I do keto is I want to be healthy as I age. I'm 61 now, and I don't want to be a 65-year-old that's on 20 medications and walking around with a cane and feeling like crap all the time. I want to be a healthy 65 and 67 and 77-year-old. I want to be there for my grandchildren, see them graduate from high school and get married if they do. I want to be with my husband and my other kids and, be with my friends and experience life and have a good life. This last week, I had to go and get my eyes checked, and a new why got added to my list of whys, and that is my eyes. I've always had glasses. I got my first pair of glasses at like 4.5, 5 years old. And my eyes, of course, weakened over the years, and I now use bifocals. But she told me this time that, I have no signs of macular degeneration or glaucoma, even though they run in my family. And she says the way to keep macular degeneration and glaucoma away is to keep your blood sugar even and keep your blood pressure normal. She says it's these ups and downs of blood pressure and blood sugar that cause stress on the eye and can cause more glaucoma or macular degeneration and everything. And she says, and having enough protein and water is very important for the eyes, as well as salt and magnesium and vitamin D. And I'm like, wow, sounds like this lady knows how to do keto, but of course she doesn't. But so for my eyes, I need my vision to do my work and to experience so many things in life. So, wanting to keep my eyes healthy is another why that I have. So Tammy or Scott, you want to talk about your why and how you got into this and why you stay this way?
Yeah, I can talk about my why. Yeah.
Okay.
And recently I actually thought of an additional reason why. So, when I graduated from high school, I was 6'5" and 145 pounds. And I stayed that way till I was early 50s, I suppose, and gradually started gaining weight. But I've never been overweight. At the most I've been probably 175, and for 6'5", I mean, that's very thin. And so for most people, probably weight loss is their reason for doing keto. But the thing is, there are actually a lot more important things than weight loss, than keto. And so, and sometimes when I say to someone that I'm on the keto diet, they say, why on earth is such a skinny person on a diet? And really, I think it should be called an eating system or a lifestyle or something, and rather than, diet. But the thing is, it's known as the keto diet. So, really, but anyway, maybe I should tell them I'm eating low carb or something. But so, I used to have gas problems and bad breath as well. And the thing is, and no amount of mouthwash or anything would cure the bad breath. My wife can attest to that.
I will attest to that.
Yeah, and it seemed like when I ate certain foods, it would be more, and so I would avoid those foods and stuff, but I still had breath problems and so when I got onto keto, then that went away immediately. And so obviously the digestive tract then is what was causing the gas and the bad breath. And the other thing is it reduces stress. You feel less stress when you're on keto. Most people do, and I do as well. And you feel more mentally focused. I don't know. I've always been a fairly focused individual anyway, but I think, yeah, there's probably more mental focus as well. And a big thing for me, I suppose it's probably not for most people on keto, but a big thing for me, and I've said this quite a bit. A big thing for me is that the U.S. population and the world population as a whole has been sold a big lie. You might as well just call it a lie. We've really been misled. I mean, the thing is, many years ago, there was a statistic that came out that roughly 500,000 people in the US die every year from alcohol-related reasons. I mean, that's 500,000 people a year because of alcohol. But I'm pretty sure that there's even more than that are dying of every year of the chronic inflammation and digestive issues and all sorts of things that carbohydrates produce. And we as Americans, I think probably more than most places in the world, we as Americans eat all sorts of carbs, and we love sugar. We love sugar. We love sweet food. When I was in high school, I spent a couple months as a foreign exchange student in Mexico, and one of the conversations I remember with the family I was staying with in Mexico was, they said, you Americans, when Americans come to Mexico, most of them have trouble handling the really hot food, but when we go to the States, we have trouble handling the really sweet food because we're not used to such. And the thing is, if you ever eat Mexican candy or Mexican sweet pastries or cookies or things, yeah, they're really, generally they're not as sweet as American stuff. And so, I mean, it is true that we have a certain palate. We've developed a certain taste for really sweet stuff. And actually, when you go, I mean, we've spent a couple of years in Japan as well, and well, my wife's actually spent more than that in Japan. And when you go to Japan, you can see that, yeah, your taste in food and stuff is very culturally determined. And Japanese candy is something really interesting to experience. But not only the candy, I mean, just all the food, the whole diet. The whole diet is really different. And you can see that that our taste in food is largely dependent upon the cultural stuff, what we just become used to. And we as Americans have become used to eating way too many carbs, and not just sweet stuff, but starchy things. I mean, potatoes, beans, and bread, especially, just, bread with everything. And, or rice too. Number of Americans eat rice. But anyway, but the thing is, we've actually been sold this lie since the 50s. We've been sold this lie that fat makes you fat, but carbohydrates are just fine. It's sweet stuff in it, but it's just fine. But the truth is actually the exact opposite. That fat really doesn't make you fat. Fat, number one, doesn't make you fat. Number two, it doesn't clog your arteries. I mean, all the jokes about eating a big hamburger or fried food or whatever, and hardening the arteries or clogging the arteries with all that fatty food, that's a big lie too. And so, just for a good way of trying to wake people up and help them realize that we are really going down the wrong road, and we have everything backwards, absolutely backwards. And the other thing is, I mean, if I'm going to encourage people I know to be on the keto diet, well, then I should eat it myself. I mean, whenever somebody tells you, oh, do as I say, not as I do, I mean, that really doesn't make a big impact. What really makes a big impact is if you personally can actually say, yes, I do this every day, I do it faithfully, I love it, I wouldn't do anything else, then that's a bigger testimony. It's a bigger witness to the real advantages. I mean, I can't point to having bad liver enzymes or high blood pressure or whatever, like my wife can, but still I do have a lot of benefits also of keto. But the other thing is, I mean, 1 in 4 Americans at some time in their life are going to get cancer. And people are really scared of cancer, deathly afraid of cancer, and they should be. I mean, it's a really scary disease. And so if you can significantly decrease your chances of getting cancer, I mean, that's huge. And the other thing is diabetes. I mean, I'm not quite sure what percentage of Americans get diabetes, but it's pretty high. We all know it's pretty high. And if you're on a keto diet, I mean, you're just not going to get diabetes. If you're on the true keto diet, you're not going to get diabetes. I mean, maybe some people doing keto might, have blood sugar problems and whatever, but no. And the other thing is, I mean, before I got onto keto, there were occasions when I'd feel shaky because my blood sugar must have gone really low. Sometimes because mostly for breakfast, a lot of times, especially on weekends, I would have, just French toast and or a bowl of granola or whatever, and that's pretty much all carb and that's it. And so if I do any sort of physical activity, like on, on a morning on the weekend, I'd maybe, have some French toast and oatmeal for breakfast, and then go out to the garden and do some, some work in the garden, some heavy work in the garden. And I'd feel kind of shaky sometimes, and I'd have to come in and it's a shaky, uncomfortable feeling, and I'd have to eat something that with really quick energy and sit down for a little while till the feeling went away. But I never get that with keto. And the other, going back to the fact that we've been sold a bill of goods, is that, okay, so since the 50s, we've, the food industry has come out with all sorts of low fat this and low fat that. And sometimes when you go for, I don't know, whipped top, Cool Whip or cottage cheese or something, you can't find, or yogurt, you can't find anything that's not low fat. And so, we, as Americans, we're eating all sorts of low fat stuff, and we've done that for decades. And margarine, remember in the 70s, the 70s, margarine came out as the, the magic replacement for that evil butter that's all fat and it's evil, and nobody should eat butter, and so margarine and all sorts of stuff, and so the American diet has gone low fat. It's gone very low fat. It'd be interesting to know, what compare the fat, the average fat intake for 1975 versus 1955, and oh, you've got that, Becky?
Yeah, 10% of the US population has diabetes.
Okay, 10%.
10% of the US population.
And
those
probably
are
a higher percentage, probably a higher percentage
20,
of those over 50 or whatever.
That's
have
2014 numbers.
Yeah,
And
it's almost 10 years ago.
From 2011 to 2014, it went up 4 million more people. A 1.5% increase between 2011 and 2014. So in those 3 years, and they don't have the data for.
If you just look at pictures, just general pictures of people from the 70s versus today, or 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even, compare them to today. I mean, you can see the huge difference. There are just tons of people, and kids are overweight these days. I mean, small kids. I mean, it's crazy. Back in the 70s, you never seen a little kid that was overweight.
So when you add in the part of the population that is diagnosed with diabetes, or has pre-diabetes, it's now half of the US population has either diabetes or pre-diabetes.
Yeah. And the other thing is, the other reason that I thought of recently was I think within the last week, I was just thinking, I don't know, I must have a really high metabolism rate or something, because before keto, I had to eat 3 meals a day. First of all, I'd eat 3 meals a day, and I had to eat at certain times. I mean, I couldn't let 3 or 4 hours go between meals. Otherwise, I would start feeling really, really hungry or really shaky or both. Now I'm fine. I mean, a lot of times I don't really eat until maybe noon or 1 or 2, and I'm fine. I don't feel that hunger and that big urge that I have to eat a meal, which is great. I mean, especially if you're traveling or something, it's very convenient. Kind of a, I don't know, kind of a minor thing though also is that now that I'm eating keto, food preparation takes a lot less time. It's a lot more convenient. It's a lot less time. I mean, you can grab a container full of sunflower seeds, which taste great and have a really nice aroma as well. And then for peanuts or almonds or something, grab them and take them along. Preparing eggs or whatever, it's in general for me anyway, and I think for most people probably. The other thing is, okay, even before keto, our family would actually cook food. We would prepare food for a meal. We typically wouldn't go out and get McDonald's or all that other stuff, that fast food stuff. We'd actually make meals for ourselves and eat them. And when I go to work, I actually took a meal with me. I took a lunch with me. I didn't buy something in the cafeteria. And that's a lot less expensive than buying that fast food stuff. And it's healthier as well too, because a lot of that fast food stuff is actually chock full of either high fructose corn syrup or a lot of sodium. And a lot of people have problems with excess sodium. I know actually some people, some people's bodies actually thrive on sodium. But anyway, that's another topic. But so that's basically all of my whys for why I do keto and why it's such a great thing to do. And it's I talked to a number of people about it. A lot of people at work or different people that I know, at church or here and there, and my family as well. Also, I've tried to convince my mom, but she really loves her donuts. She loves having some donuts and some ice cream and bread. The thing is, I mean, we were, really America still is a very bread-based culture. I mean, it's tough to imagine eating some sort of steak or hamburger or something without bread, or a dinner roll or something, I mean, we are very bread based. And hey, bread is called the staff of life, so, but anyway, yeah, that's basically my whys. And
I have a couple other statistics for you. So
okay.
who can guess what country has the highest level of diabetes in the world?
What country?
What country has the highest percentage of diabetes in their country? Diagnosed diabetes.
It would not be Japan.
No.
Far from it.
Any guesses?
I'll guess the United States.
I'll guess India.
Very good, Tammy.
India.
India's
Really?
number one. Do you know who's number two, Tammy?
I'll just guess United States for that one.
No, Scott, it's not the United States. Guess
The
who?
UK?
No,
Okay, just tell
China.
us.
It's China.
China.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was gonna say China, but
India first, China second, then the United States, and then the UK.
Wow.
And what percentage of people with diabetes will lose their vision because of it?
Is this just type 2?
No, type 1 and 2.
Okay, type 1 and 2 together.
What
25%?
percentage proportion? What?
25%?
No, it's higher.
Really?
Yep. It's a 1/3. 1/3 of those
Wow.
with diabetes will lose their vision. To something, typically it's diabetic retinopathy, but it can be glaucoma, macular degeneration, retinal
Yep.
detachment because of diabetes and stuff. And in the United States, what percentage of limb amputations happen because of diabetes? Total
75.
limb amputations in the United States, what percentage is because of diabetes?
Maybe 75.
Oh no, you're high. It's only 67%.
Wow, exactly 2/3 then.
So
Toes count as limbs?
yes, toes count as limbs. Yeah. Fingers, toes, even tips of noses are called a limb because they protrude from the body. I mean, we don't normally in conversation.
It's
call
more of
them-
an accessory, I think.
Yeah.
An important accessory.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those accessory glands that we,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess enough diabetes stats. Ugh. Guess how much it costs the United States for diabetic care each year? It's in the billions, I'll give you
I
that.
was gonna say, that's gotta be in the billions,
It's in the
just with
billions.
knowing what other healthcare expenses are.
Yeah, especially all those surgeries and things, you know. Yeah.
It's 240 billion a year just for diabetic care.
Wow.
It's a lot of money. Of course, our military costs us more than that, but that's okay. Anyway, so Tammy or Dawn, do you want to tell us about your whys or how you got into this and why you stay? Don't fight over it, just go for it.
I'll go because I'll be quick. I'm not going to be as long-winded. I just do it for weight loss. I don't have any metabolic symptoms. I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have anything, thing that all that. So it's all just for weight loss. So mine's quick, and I don't have all those medical. I don't have any medical issues.
She's lucky. You're younger
So,
than us.
Tammy, how long have
right?
you been doing it? I forget.
Probably 3 years.
Okay.
Okay. And you're what, 10, 15 years younger than us?
I am the same as you.
You were never such a fatty as me though, were you?
No, not over 300. The highest I was maybe 250 many years ago. I lost weight. My lowest that I got to last year was 160, but I'm not 160 anymore. So that's why I have to restart this year. And so I started with a friend, and so we're trying to do 90 days really clean as I can do it. My biggest problems have been, and I know exactly what it is. There's a keto restaurant down the street, and she does meal prep, and you can buy, meals and stuff, but she also does keto treats. Now, granted, the keto treats are better than, buying a Snickers bar at the grocery store and having one of those every day. She uses monk fruit and stuff, but it's still a keto treat. And me and another lady I work with, she gained back the 20 pounds she lost, and I probably haven't gained quite 20 pounds, but maybe 15. I'm not getting on the scale though, so I don't know. And maybe I'll know if I'm losing because my pants will be bigger because I had to buy a bigger size. So it's the keto treats and too much of keto foods. Granted, I quit counting how many carbs I'm eating, but 1 ounce of peanuts is good, but 4 ounces of peanuts is not so good. And peanuts is my downfall. So I haven't had any peanuts in quite a while. Because I can't stop at 1 ounce. If you can stop at 1 ounce, which is 4 carbs, I think it is, four carbs for 1 ounce of peanuts, you can do that and fit that into your day. But I don't stop at 4. So I have to go with no carbs, no peanuts. And the same thing with keto treats. I mean, you can have a keto treat every once in a while, but you can't have 2 every day. So I'm just going to have to stop with, I might have 1 a week or 1 every 2 weeks. Okay, so that's it.
And Dawn, so why did you decide to go keto?
Yeah, so my father passed away in April of 2020, and I was sitting at our river house and just feeling like crap. And he was a heavy alcoholic and diabetic, and I loved him to death. So it's not a slam. It just is, he had mental health condition and wasn't managing his life. And so I was sitting at the river just in front of the fire, and I was by myself and just started kind of Googling like diets, and came across, well, I don't think Dr. Boz was the first one. It's the guy who does, he's an Asian gentleman. I can't even remember. I haven't looked at him.
Dr. Fung,
Fun?
Jason Fung.
Yeah.
I like him. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I
and
watched all his videos, and I like him.
Yeah, I was super motivated by the data that he was presenting, and I thought, I could try that. And then I got turned on to, again, I am looking forward to a recovered mental status and some clarity in my thinking now that I'm eating a little bit cleaner. But yeah, so I started the journey back in May. It was Memorial Day weekend of 2020. And I love numbers. I like to see progress from data. So I bought myself a Keto Mojo and started taking my blood, and, just loved seeing the numbers change so quickly. I lost about 60 pounds. And then I'm, even though I haven't been in ketosis for several months, probably 6 months, I've not been in ketosis. I have not been doing many carbs and stuck to the intermittent fasting with 1 meal a day, and have maintained that for the most part, but just have not watched it. My mother got real sick in January and was in the hospital for 5 months. So we, just that rhythm was hard. What I have seen is that my weight trickled back up, and it was slow, even though I was still maintaining the same rhythm. And I was not being consistent on checking my carb levels, and I just wasn't as rigid over these past 6 months. So it's gone back up. I'm actually a little over a 72-hour fast right now. I started back, and I'm again back on watching the numbers, and super excited to see them change so quickly. And just every 24 hours, I'm doing it in the mornings and checking. So I have pretty high glucose number, I think. I mean, like, they were 132 the first morning, and then they were 119 the next morning. This morning, no, they were 92 yesterday, and then this morning they were back to 109 or either 119 with my first assessment. And so that's a little frustrating to me, but I also think it's part of how my body works. And so I have to be very diligent in staying the course on it. My other why is I have 2 friends who actually, one is, I guess what they would call it, she's in remission, but they had the triple negative breast cancer. And so she went straight keto. They were pretty healthy people to begin with, eating clean and organic, but not keto. And she went straight to keto. And then I just had another friend who was diagnosed, and she's actually seeing improved markers, but I asked her, obviously we're in Houston. I asked her, are you at MD Anderson? She's like, no, I refuse their protocol. So she's doing keto and doing some really neat things, and has some improvement on her markers as well. So I think, as I'm aging, I'm starting to think about that a little bit more, not just from, how do I look and that part of it, but really internally, is my body doing what it's supposed to be doing? And am I treating it the way, am I being a good steward of my body? And so that's my why. I want to be a little bit healthier, and I want to last, to see what adventure is next for me.
Yeah.
So
So these numbers you're not liking very much, are these your fasting numbers in the morning?
uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on one of Dr. Boz's pages or on the website, she had a chart
Mm-hmm.
that you could see that, like, if every morning you have a fasting blood sugar of 100, then your usual A1C would be 5.56 if it's 100. But if you've got a usual fasting blood sugar of 110, it's 6.1.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's 120, it's 6.6. And at 6.5, you're considered diabetic. So,
Oh yeah. Well, and I can tell, I mean, I'm pretty sensitive. Like, I can tell when I eat carbs or when I eat sugar, or if I have too many Trulies, the night before, my fingers will get numb. So I know that that neuropathy is all part of that blood sugar and diabetes, and I am pre-diabetic. So I have to be careful. I am not taking any medicine. I never have. And my hope is to, when I was at 130 with my weight, my goal was 120, but when I was there, I didn't have any of those symptoms. So for me, I'm hopeful that it'll stay that way when I get back fully.
so
Is it integrated? I don't know what it's called, but
yeah, when you're fully integrated, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
I'm hoping those symptoms will.
I was attending another group once, and a lady came on and she said, I've been doing keto and I've been pretty faithful for the last 3 months, but lately in the mornings, my blood sugar is higher. It's like 120. And she's like, I was so consistently 80, 85, every morning with my fasting blood sugar. What's happening? And well, one of the ladies had the same problem where her blood sugar was high in the morning when she was fasting. And she said that she had actually had an appointment, a Zoom appointment with Dr. Boz to ask that question. And the way Dr. Boz answered it is, she said, if you've been having high sugars for years or months, that once you get to a certain point in the metabolic system, then the body starts saying, oh, okay, they're not adding more sugar in. I can let go of this sugar. And so in the morning times when you're taking your blood sugar, body's letting go of stored sugars. It's not that you've eaten something that makes your sugar that much. It's that the body's finally letting go of stored sugars.
Yeah, I saw something where she recommended you do it twice a day when you're trying to watch that, just to see if it changes and to see where spikes. And the other thing that I thought was interesting that I heard her say was about women who are menopausal, and when you should stop eating protein, because that converts to sugar. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I know these past 6 months, what has happened is I was at the hospital in the mornings and then coming home and then having to go to work and then coming home and eating at like 7 or 8 at night. And again, I would eat pretty healthy, salad, or, I'd get my fats in there and do what I was supposed to do. But because I was eating so late, and just with age and, body chemistry, that it wasn't working for me. And that's where the weight came back with stress and stuff.
Yeah, we do have to find that sweet spot for our
Mhm.
body as to exactly how much protein we can eat.
Right.
I think, like, I can eat more protein than Scott can, not
Mhm.
because I'm horribly hungry and just want to eat yum, 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 It's just my body needs more protein than his body does. for
Well, I
whatever.
have definitely found that nuts, like Tammy, like you were saying, I mean, I love Brazil nuts, walnuts, but peanuts will throw me way off. So I can't do a lot of peanuts.
So your metabolism doesn't manage peanuts as well as
Right.
maybe Brazil nuts or something. And you know, that's the thing. Yes, keto gives us a framework of how to
Right.
try and start working, but then we have to start looking at our own personal metabolism. And you know, like Scott is eating butter most every day. And there for a while, he was eating half a stick of butter each day, honey. Was it half a stick? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
half a stick, yeah.
yeah. And then I started noticing some odors again.
Yeah, I had more body odor, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so I
So-
cut back on the butter and then it went away.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what I think was that his body needed to get to a certain level of fat. And then when it was done with that, the metabolism's like, okay, I need less again. And so he backed off on it. And, you know, that's really a good thing, taking personal responsibility for our metabolism and our health, not depending on some pill or some doctor to, you know, do something for us, but really taking personal responsibility and figuring it all out for ourselves. That's another thing I really like about keto, is that this is a way to get to know our own personal metabolism for our own health.
Have y'all done the sardine fast that everyone's talking about?
So
I am never going to put a sardine in my mouth, I can promise you. So it doesn't
I
matter.
can.
I'm not even going to buy a can and try. No,
I haven't opened it, but I thought, well, maybe I'll try
maybe
it.
it'll sit there for 6 months before you open it, just stare at it. But I'm not even going to bother buying a can because it ain't going to happen.
I bought a can, but I had to buy the can without the scales, without the bones, and without the heads. I just cannot even possibly think it. And I left it sitting on the kitchen counter, and every day I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, I should eat that. Yeah, I should eat that. It took me months, and finally I did eat it. I did not die. It was okay, you know, and I bought 12 more cans. They're in the cupboard. I should do it. But
No, why should you? You don't have to.
well,
Don't do it.
well, the thing is when I'm really strict with myself and I make sure I add in like the Braunschweiger, you know, the beef liver. I sat staring at that package for nearly a month too before I could do it. I just couldn't do it. I've had liver and onions once in my life. It tasted like cat food. I don't want to eat cat food. And so I'm like, I just can't do the
Well,
Braunschweiger.
I haven't figured out why it's such a big deal, other than it's got the high fat and I just don't get, I think that there's so many other options
For
to
me,
get that.
it's with the sardines, it's the fishy smell. It's much more fishy than tuna. I eat tuna. I like tuna. Tuna's fine, but it's so much more fishy than tuna. Ugh. With the Braunschweiger, it's that memory of the beef liver and onions. So
Well,
bad.
Dr. Berry says to take your beef liver, you know, like grind it up and mix it in with hamburger and you'll never know it's there.
Oh. Hmm.
Now, do
And,
y'all use the, is it BHP? Am I saying that right? The supplements
Oh, the
that she
supplements.
sells, do y'all have any of those? Have y'all found that those are helpful to get you into ketosis?
Well, for me, I'm sensitive to the BHB. It makes my heart race, and
Okay.
I'm allergic to stevia, so I can't, you know, drink it in a drink like she does on her lives, and so I have to take the pills, and I can only take one pill every 3 hours, and that's not enough to kick you into ketosis. So I don't bother with them. And Scott seems so easily just slips right into ketosis. He doesn't worry about it. So we've not done it. We've known other people who have, and we know people who use the MCT oil to help them get more fat. I can't have anything that's coconut based, so I've never done the MCT oil. I think Scott did some, but he
I
just,
do MCT in the morning with my coffee, and I do the salt water coffee.
Yeah.
So I do one,
yeah, I don't do coffee. I do tea because coffee gives me arrhythmias. Even the decaf coffees give me heart arrhythmias, so I don't do that. But I do tea, usually peppermint tea, sometimes decaf green tea, but not too often green tea. But yeah, I don't put any of the oil in there. But yeah, I mean, it's all a learning process, and a retraining process. I used to go to the grocery store and stare at all the fruits and everything and think, oh, these are healthy. I'll have all these grapes and all these strawberries and a couple of mangoes and everything, and I num on it. But then I saw what it did to my blood sugar. But and rice. I used to eat a lot of rice. I've lived like almost 4 years of my life in Japan, and I love rice. I really do. I love rice with just butter and salt, or with some soy sauce or something. But rice blows my blood sugar up more than eating cheesecake. I can eat the same amount of cheesecake as I do rice. Explosion of the blood sugar. So rice is a no. Anyway, so well, it's a little after 8. Is there anything else anybody wants to discuss or tell each other? Or?
do y'all typically, so these groups are Wednesdays at 7?
Wednesdays at 7 Central Time.
Okay.
And we try not to take breaks. We don't travel a great deal. Like last year, we made it to all but 4 in the whole year. And that was because 1, we were traveling, 2, we were ill, and another time we had a Christmas party that night. So, we've done pretty well. Out of 52 weeks, we made it 48 of them. So yeah, go us.
Well, yeah, that's great. I'm actually, like I said tonight, I wasn't sure if they had church service tonight. They just had it for the kids. So Wednesday nights at 7 is typically when our church meets. So
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll be back on here with y'all, but I appreciate you letting me jump in.
No problem. People
and
can come and go. It's
Yeah.
free access. So
Where do you live, Dawn? I think I missed that. Where do you
Yeah,
live?
I'm down in Houston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How about you, Tammy?
Tupelo, Mississippi.
Oh, I have an aunt that lives in Tupelo.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you even know where it is then. Maybe you know where it is. I don't know.
Yes. She's 99. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
I've only lived here for 3 years. I'm from Michigan, then I went to Ohio for 15 years, and then I went to Little Rock, Arkansas for 15 years, and then I came here for the last 3.
Yeah. Are you working in Tupelo?
I do, but we moved here because of my husband's work.
Yeah. Well, good.
I moved here and then kept working at home because it was right at COVID time, and I worked at home for my boss in Little Rock for another 1.5 years, and then they did finally hire someone to replace me. It was not convenient, and it was hard to work at home. I mean, for him. So it took 1.5 years though, because it just did, with COVID and everything. So, and after that, I got another job. So.
Good. Well, it's good meeting all of y'all.
Yeah,
All
thanks
right, we'll
for
come back
your-
in sometime.
Yeah, it's reinvigorated my passion on this. So good hearing y'all's whys.
Okay, well, thank
Take
you all for coming, and come back next week or whenever. And Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New
Are you-
Year.
Yep.
Elizabeth, you said you were going to be working on the workbook? Is that
Yeah.
going to start next week?
Yeah, I have it here. Here it is. One of the
Okay.
big things at the beginning of the workbook is to work on your why. And that's why I brought up the whys this week, because that's the biggest thing at the beginning of the, just so you know, Dawn, I took my workbook apart. I had it cut apart, and then I put it in pockets so that I can use the pages that have charts and photocopy them and then keep using them, so I don't have to buy another book.
And you can get them, you can get your books put in spiral things too, and
Yeah.
different things at like Office Depot or Staples.
For me,
And take
it's
your-
just easier to get them to cut off the spine, and then I put them in these pockets because then I can pull them out and photocopy them.
Is this consistently keto?
Mhm.
Yeah, this is Keto Continuum
Continuum.
Workbook.
So is that the second one she did?
Yeah,
I had,
this is the book, this is the workbook.
yeah, I haven't done that one, I guess. I did the consistently keto, the very
Yeah,
first.
the online course.
Mhm.
Yeah, we did that too. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Thank y'all.
I like. this
Okay,
book
bye.
Too, but, okay, well, good night, everyone. I'm gonna stop the recording.
Good night.